I know I do these all the time. That's just essentially.
Hello. Okay, hello everybody. Thanks very much for braving the cold and dodging the flu and managing to get here. I had so many 6 notes this morning, I felt like a teacher on a school trip. Everyone telling me they couldn't come, but we've had a good turnout, so that's great. Shows the support for what we're trying to do. Today is really about the boot campers and our very first cohort for the School of Code. So it's been an experiment, and we're really trying to get more and different types of people into the industry. So we wanted to see if we could take random people from random backgrounds and through a really short and intensive period, propel them through to tech greatness. So we'll see if we've done that today, hopefully. What we're going to do today, how it's going to work is we've got a couple of guest speakers that are going to kick it off. And then we're going to get straight into our bootcamper group presentation. So they've been working on projects for the last 4 weeks to showcase their skills, and we're going to see them present those and hopefully support them and give them a few cheers. If we just practice a cheer, let's practice clapping now. Let's practice a round of applause. Nicola, if you cut that and just put it to the end of the video, that would be great. And well, you haven't come here to hear about me. But we'll do it anyway. So let me tell you a story about a young boy with a dream, okay? No. So I went to university and studied AI because I wasn't very good at football, so I couldn't really pursue a career in that. And carried on in academia until there was just nothing left to do. I'd been there for like 8 years, had to get back into the real world, and really I wanted to help people take advantage of technology. We hear that it's the future, and there's so many jobs and opportunities, but they only seem to go to the same type of people, and we haven't really cracked how to teach anybody to get into this world. So that's really what I wanted to experiment with. Can we find a way to do that? So you might actually not recognize me by my face, but more like this. This is on our branding and all of that cool stuff. So today's really about the boot campers, and so say hello to them. They're all here at the front. You'll get to know them throughout the day. 80 to 90% of them hadn't coded before they started the boot camp. They hadn't even seen a line of code. So this was really a massive risk for them and for us to see, could we take these people to productive and, you know, enable them to work in tech teams in such a short space of time. So they've got through 12 weeks of training together, and at the end of that 12 weeks, from scratch, I told them that they'd be doing a 4-week project to present in front of people. And obviously, from the range of backgrounds with got, not all of them have presented before, and they were a little bit nervous, to say the least. It came down to discussions about the final project and, you know, questions like, how are we going to have time to make a presentation and film a video of our app working and get it looking good enough to, you know, they were panicking. I said, listen, don't worry. You don't need to make time to film a video. It's going to be live demos only. So what could go wrong? So that's what you're going to see today. The sum total of 16 weeks training condensed into 4 weeks of pure practical work, on-the-job learning, and live demos only. So any techies in the room will know live demos have a reputation for not going too well. So, you know, it'll be exciting either way. But hopefully we're going to see some really good skills on show today. Cool. Oh yeah, I forgot to do this. So I didn't do the live demo thing just because I'm evil. There you go. But really it's about, there's never a comfort zone in tech. You've always got more to learn, more to push for, more to climb, more to achieve, and you've got to be comfortable with that sort of growth mindset. You know, you're never the expert. You've always got more to try and find out. And a problem solver, you know, if you know how to solve the problem already, you're not problem solving, you're remembering. So, you know, new problems are there for you to go and work them out and you know, produce new solutions to. But it was really unreasonable to expect people to go from scratch all the way through to, you know, programmer and present some live demos. The programmer stereotype isn't someone that, you know, stereotypically presents a lot or even needs to or wants to. But really we found that we want to shape people to be collaborative, creative coders, not just the stereotype that we've you know, come to know through Hollywood for the last like 50 years, but you know, anyone can bring skills outside of code to this. You're going to be working in teams, you're going to be dealing with clients, you're going to be selling, you know, your product, you're going to be empathizing with users. All of these soft skills are really important, so we've concentrated on them quite a lot. And how have we been able to do this? How have we been able to squeeze all of this into just 16 weeks? And I think the key is that it's been part of a cohort. They've been together because learning to code is usually a very lonely experience. You're there on your own day after day. You know, even if you get really into it, you're going to get stuck or bored. And at some points, you know, people will think it's not for me, or I'll just quit. I'm not good enough at maths. It's for nerds, blah, blah, blah. But really, we've proven that actually, with nobody dropping out, this can be for anyone in the right environment, with the right training, with the right support around you. It really can be for anyone. That dog was really, really lonely. And so in hindsight, what we've actually got is a family of people that are there to support each other, solve problems together, have fun, and collaborate in teams. And that's really the key. In our training, everything was production team-based. So you are in agile teams that have to keep on top of each other, you know, plan, process, break down problems. It's not just hacking your way to a functioning product. It's really about the team ethos and bringing everyone together. So, in summary, we don't want these sort of curriculum zombies that just go through exercises and can churn out, you know, interview questions. It's about getting people that are used to working in teams, that like to work in teams, and that can collaborate and be creative together. Okay, so the end goal for the School of Code was to fill the tech skills gap. So rather than, you know, people falling down the middle, the School of Code is there to create the environment to support people and gently cannon them across the skills gap through to tech jobs. And that's why hopefully a lot of you are here today to see whether that process has worked and reach out to these boot campers and offer them opportunities. So, just a bit of background from our application process. So the application process was really successful, to be honest. We had 300 applications from a massive variety of people and an age range of 18 to 60, almost equal gender split. All of these things are not really heard of in tech too much. So we believe that, you know, more and different types of people do want to get into tech. And this is the result of can we get them there. But if you look at the demographic of Birmingham, this is just an outline of it. It's a happy accident, really. We didn't know too much about this when we actually hired the cohort. But halfway through, we gave them check questionnaires just to see who we had on and what their backgrounds were. And even though it's only 19 people, so it's a bit of a statistical subset, we've pretty nicely captured the diversity of Birmingham, which, you know, I'm going to say was on purpose, but it wasn't. It was an accident. But I think it shows that if you open up your application process and you sort of try and remove as many biases as possible. I mean, we really only hired we put them through a series of application stages, but mainly to check, A, did we think they could stick it out, and B, were they nice people? That's basically our application process. So we couldn't find 19 nice people, so no, we did. Yeah, they've all come through and stuck with it. The backgrounds of the boot campers, you'll hear about a lot more today. We've got a baker, return-to-work mum, an artist, a personal trainer, choreographer, teacher, warehouse worker, athlete, school leaver, unemployed, probation officer, waiter, designer, retail manager, PhD, maths graduate, geologist, musician, and a refugee, and I can't remember the other one, but I will in a minute. Anyway, there's a big mix there, right? So that just shows the diversity of these backgrounds, so you don't need a technical background to come on board. We specifically didn't have any sort of prerequisites. There was no prerequisite learning. It was turn up on day one, and we'll try and take you on this whole journey. Cool, let's press next. The laptop's freaking out. Okay, and the journey that we've taken them on is with the latest and greatest technologies, really. So we could have based this on a load of different stacks, but we were quite future thinking with it. What are the growth areas in web development? How can we help companies who are forward thinking bring on the right talent? Where's the shortages? And so we've concentrated on web development, HTML, CSS, everything based in Git, version controlled, project managed. Server-side and front-end, we've done full-stack JavaScript, so we've coupled that with MongoDB databases and React on the front end, which is Facebook's UI library. So it's quite a forward-thinking stack, but it's much more than just the technical aspects. So what I'm going to do is press a button and hope that I can show this video on, how do I switch this screen? Is Chris here? No. How do I switch the screen to show a video off my laptop? I'm not really a techie, I'm just a showman, do you know what I mean? Like, this is, you've seen under the veil here. How do I get that on there? Command C. Yeah. Do you want to open a new one? It's going to be a new one, do you? Yeah. Oh, you just dragged it out. Sweet. Nice one. Okay. So I'll just show you a little video which should hopefully be in HD. And it's just a 2-minute video describing the day in the life of a boot camper. So. you go. No! Aren't you, where's my mouse gone? Where's my mouse? Okay, ignore him, he doesn't know what he's on about. Okay, so, okay. It's all right, it's all right. So, where's my, there we go, there's my mouse. Okay, so that was the day in the life of the boot camp, but really that's just to show you, we try and do things in an agile way. So every day, this is a learning experience for us as much as the boot campers. So we'd have morning stand-ups, we'd have retrospectives in the evening, just see how we could get better every day. You saw a lot of gameplay there, more than I thought was in that video, to be fair. We didn't do that much gameplay. But coding is mentally taxing and draining, and you do need to step away from the computer screen, A, for your health, but B, for your mental health as well. And being able to come back to a problem is always better. So we did have energizers when there's that mid-afternoon slump. Just go and kick it up and do something different, get some energy in. But yeah, hopefully we've done things in the right way. But there's much more that we've done. So, for example, halfway through the course, we had Dell Week, which was Dell came and gave a project to make a CRM for their internal mentoring system. And we split all of the cohort into 5 teams, and they all tackled that problem. And they had approximately 2 or 3 days coding time. So they were presented with the problem on the Monday, had to present it on the Friday. And Dell was sort of blown away by by how far they got in just 2 days, halfway through the course. We've had a really good year in terms of especially the Silicon Canal Awards, and Claire got a special mention there as Graduate Developer of the Year, so a round of applause to Claire. They've been to hackathons down in London, and this particular hackathon, it was a really good experience for them. They won the best teamwork for how they project managed, and obviously people usually go into hackathons and just hack, so it was quite good to see them bring their project management to it and get recognised by that hackathon. They've run their own meetup for beginners, so they've gone out and taught beginners and tried to pass on the knowledge that they've got, and also show, you know, they've got empathy and they can communicate with people, complex ideas. So we ran that in conjunction with Google Digital Garage. We've had some fantastic guest speakers come in and share their industry insights. We've had a little bit of relaxation time, getting to know each other, working as a team. We've had, as I said, project management from scratch. So a lot of people hadn't ever been on a tech team, or most people had never, all of them had never been on a tech team. And so it was really good to show them how we think things should be done. And yeah, they've also spoken at React meetups, the Fusion meetup. They've tried to get in and around this community as much as possible. That's enough from me. So we're going to hand over to our guest speakers for a little bit. Then we're going to have talks from the groups on their final presentations. And then after, we're going to have networking, which is sort of going to work as a reverse recruitment fair. So the boot campers will be on tables in their teams so that they're easily locatable. And then everyone can just go and mix and talk and ask deeper questions about the projects. Rather than doing Q&As for the teams, go and find out more about what motivates these guys and where they've come from. But yeah, I'd like to just take a moment to thank our sponsors, because we couldn't do this without them. It's a free coding bootcamp because we want to remove as many barriers as possible to get more people involved. And we couldn't do that without a load of sponsors, but in particular Pact Publishing. And we've got Dave McLean from Pact today, who's going to come up and give a talk. He's a man of few words. No, please keep it to a few words, actually, that says Dave, actually. And so what we're going to hear from him is about why Pact supported us. But in general, just as a rule, Dave is one of the most generous guys you're likely to meet. If anything good is happening in Birmingham, he's more than likely supporting it in some way, odds are. And he's also not only MD of Pact Publishing, but chair of the Digital Strategy Board for the West Midlands Combined Authority. So I'd like to hand over to Dave McLean.
As if I'm going to make all the tech work. God, never follow Chris on a presentation. Oh my God. And in fact, I'm a man of few words since my wife banned swearing. So my word count's gone down about 50% at the minute. How do I get my thing? Oh, there we are. Look, click. Is that it? Next slide. It does. Okay. Gonna make it really short and sweet. Fundamentally, the reason we sponsored the boot camp is the reason that Birmingham and the Midlands is a great place. They're two in the same. First of all, I like action, not words, right? There's a really great, we have a giant skills problem in the UK, and there's a great quote from Tony Blair. He said, you can declare war by tucking it in a line in the middle of a speech on skills, and nobody's going to notice because nobody's listening. So the difference in the Industrial Revolution, what happened in Birmingham was that there was all scientists all over the world, and actually the French say this. They say the reason the Industrial Revolution started in Birmingham is because we were people that built stuff. It was run by engineers, not by academics and scientists and the government. These people, Watt, Brindley, were engineers. They built stuff. So the common thread in Birmingham is we're not too interested in grand theories. We're not too interested in other people doing stuff for us. We just make stuff, workshop of the world. And there's the opportunity for us in digital to do the same. The reason we sponsored School of Code is because Chris and I got sick of everybody talking about the skills problem. I just prefer doing stuff, and Chris said, let's just do it. Here's the budget. And I was like, yep, let's just do it. So what you've got here, perhaps I have to stand here, do I? Oh, there we are, yeah. Okay, so, tech runs on talent. My business pact, we are a publisher of training materials, books, videos. I always joke and say, the raw material that built Birmingham was iron, steel, and coal, wasn't it? And, when you look at the business we're all in now in tech and digital, what is the raw material? I mean, it's basically learning, Coke and pizza, isn't it? Are the raw materials that are powering the next generation. And that huge piece of kit that built Birmingham 200 years ago, a gigantic capital investment, would have lasted 50 years, giant, system, people with rolled up sleeves. We're in the same business, apart from that piece of industrial machinery is us in this room. We are the fleshy machinery for what's happening in the world now. So we have a real problem in the world, which is we have a talent gap. Clearly, that takes a lot of forms. Some things you can do something about, some things you can't. I'm kind of sick of hearing about the talent gap. We know there's a huge talent gap. The talent gap between what is coming out of universities, colleges, schools, and what we as business people need is huge. We see it every day as recruiting tech people. A lot of the people I know in the room who are also recruiting. You see that because it's hard, it takes longer to recruit people, it's harder to find people, you have higher staff turnover, and let's be really frank as a business person, you end up competing for ever scarcer talent and paying more and more for it. You see that in the giant uptick with the contractor market. I know, just seen Andrew from Hayes, he's rubbing his hands at the back. That's not a good sign for all of us. Hayes are running 5,000 contractors in the UK live right now. That is a sign of a talent market, brutally speaking, which is not functioning, which has a gigantic supply-demand imbalance. So, this is out here to deeds, not words. We build stuff to people like me, to Jan, to the people who are running tech companies in Birmingham. You're here to do something about it, not complain about it, not just take the easy road out, which is pay the person in front of you 25% more than you wished you should. The point of me here is to urge you to get involved in this experiment. There are 3 big things that we as business people can do, and employers, not just business people, employers of tech talent and digital talent in the region. These are the 3 big things. The first thing is that we in the WMCA, various other initiatives, Innovation Birmingham, have a common agenda, which is that don't sit back and complain about the talent problem. We are going to be creating ways for the voice of us as employers and business people to guide the apprenticeship scheme, to guide the curriculum inside BCU, to try and drive what's happening inside universities, to try and drive regional and national government policy, so we get more talent and more relevant curricula. And that's not going to happen by magic. The only voice that universities, government, and anybody will listen to in the end is the voice of employers. Because our mission in the Digital Board for West Midlands is more tech jobs, better tech jobs. So all the power rests with you. The reason you don't think it does is because we as the employers are all just guys with our head down and girls with our head down running companies, and we don't get involved as a unit. So we're going to create the WMCA a way that works for employers to have more power and influence over the provision of skills in the region, so we get what we want. The second part we can all do is what you guys were doing down at Google Garage. What the guys at Innovation Birmingham do really well is it has to be an attractive place to build your career. So the build it in Birmingham, build it in the Midlands means not just companies and software. It means this has to be an attractive place to build a career. And that means meetups, it means community, it means networking, it means turning up. As Woody Allen said, 80% of success in life is showing up. Just turn up to some things and build the ecosystem. Don't stand on the sidelines and complain about it. The third thing, which is what School of Code is about, is that clearly we have that talent gap. We aren't getting the quality or the quantity of talent we need to staff all the job roles we have. The current system, we can influence it and change it. We're talking about a supertanker. Believe me, anything that involves the Department of Education in the UK, we will all die before that fundamentally changes. So we're going to have to innovate and try new stuff. So what School of Code is bullet point 3, which is try something different. We all would love to be able to hire the person who's got a first from Imperial in computer science, yeah? But meanwhile, while you're waiting for your fairy to arrive, I suggest you try something different. Try a non-traditional background, non-traditional route. You say you want someone with 5 years of agile experience. Well, try someone that's got an agile mindset that might take 6 months just to get up to speed. But I'll tell you what might be a transformational piece of talent for you. So all I'm asking you is to change your investment horizon for talent and flex it a little bit and be a little softer and more imaginative around the edges, and then we can create innovative and new pathways for things like School of Code. Does that make sense? So School of Code, I'm going to skip through these. Chris has always done it much better, but ultimately, Chris is building, and the team are building a new model around real work, full stack. But I think the real thing, when we first met at the beginning of the thing, one of the goals I remember Chris set the School of Code team was no person left behind. So, you know, it's like being marooned on a raft at sea, isn't it? You're not going to throw anyone overboard. And I think it's incredible tribute to all of you that everybody has survived. And I think the truth is, Chris, when we started the conversations, Chris was like playing the numbers game, you know, he goes, well, we'll throw a few people overboard. You know, I think probably we might be like that plane crash in the Andes, we might eat a couple of them. Do you know what I mean? But actually, what a credit. Everybody made it to Berlin, which is amazing. Really, actually, and what's more amazing is that you know, I was embarrassed about the Band of Brothers slide, even though it's a transformational thing, because the other real genius, as I see sitting in front of us, is reflecting the modern diversity of Birmingham is absolutely genius. And we know very well that if you go into a Russell Group computer science course, you are seeing that and not that. And I think that's really, really important, really, really important. Okay, final, this is the appeal here. This is an MVP. So Chris has just got an insight, got an idea, and gone out there collaboratively And he's done it. The team has done it. We've stumped up the capital. Dave and Innovation Birmingham have stumped up the space. It's been a real team effort. You as employers have a role to play in this. We need to solve this problem together through teamwork. What we're asking for you guys now is that you get involved in this test and learn. You take these people who have a range of different talents and aptitudes, but an incredible ethic of teamwork, collaboration, and communication, and you find a role for them around your teams, in your dev team, in your organizations, and then we come back, and this is really a very important trial, because I think if in 3 to 6 to 9 months' time, all the cohort from School of Code are productive and useful and happy and functioning inside the organizations, the people inside this room, then we've done the first loop of the MVP, haven't we? Then we all sit around and we go, it would be a little bit better if we tweak this, we tweak that, we change this, we change that. And then we're going to keep going around the loop. Now, what will happen around the loop is, once you've done it once, and it's a success, then the one thing I've learned in life is it's amazing how many people want to get on a bandwagon when it's running, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Trying to get something working, everyone's like, do you know what, I'll jump on that just as it crosses the finish line. Isn't the world full of those kind of people, isn't it? And actually, the biggest exponent of that kind of behavior are large institutions, large corporates, and government. So what we're trying to do here is a snowball to get this MVP so it delivers value to you as employers. And then we can go out there and scale this. And I realize that we'll never scale Chris Mayer. There's only one Chris Mayer. I'm sure that's out there in School of Code. But again, it's a problem we'll have for phase 2, for phase 3, for future iterations. And what good looks like is that there's 10 cohorts running in 3 years' time, that there's alumni from School of Code across tech companies across the whole West Midlands, that it becomes part of the portfolio of the talent pipeline that we as employers have as an option, so we're not over a barrel all the time, competing in the same limited talent pool. And then we take that around the UK. There's a massive dot to move. We're trying to do something new and different here. We're trying to build something new. This is a naked appeal to everybody who's got bums on seats in companies to just flex your model a little bit, step up and get involved. Let's finish this MVP and let's take it back around the loop again. So that's the appeal. Chris, back to you, and well done, you guys.
Okay, so thanks for that, Dave. Just to clarify, I'm not a cannibal. I didn't say let's eat people in the Andes or anything like that. But yeah, so I'd like to welcome up our next speaker, Anne-Marie. So Anne-Marie is the CEO of Stemets. And Stemets are a great organisation helping to encourage young girls into science and technology and get them into the tech industry. So she was awarded an MBE in 2016 for recognising her works in changing attitudes and getting more young women inspired. And it's my pleasure to welcome her to Birmingham today. So I'll just hand this over. Do you want to plug that in? Yeah. So here's your clicker. Thank you. Will it work on this? It should. So let's welcome. Here's the clicker. And then I'll turn your mic on. Do you want to walk around? There you go.
Thank you.
Let's just welcome
Thank you very much, Chris. So yes, my name is Anne-Marie Mafadon, and I run an organisation called the Stemets. Has anyone here ever heard of the Stemets? Okay, quite a few of you. For those of you that have never heard of us, hopefully the name is kind of self-explanatory. So STEM stands for Science, technology, engineering, maths. There you go. Pat on the back to anyone that already knew that. Science, technology, engineering, maths. And ETS is the French diminutive. So we work with girls and young women to encourage them into STEM. So Chris and Nicola asked me to speak today a little bit about what we've learned about inclusivity around tech and kind of lessons learned. And judging from who the audience is today, I kind of sprinkled in a couple of extra bits and pieces. So this is a little bit more about me. Obligatory baby photo there on the left. I was really cute. I was about 3 or 4 in that picture, and for me, technology has always been something that I've loved. So even at that point, I was driving my dad nuts trying to take apart our VCR, as we had in the house then, and various things around the house. And things kind of escalated. So I ended up doing maths and ICT GCSE, age 10, and then doing A-level in computing, aged 11. And for me, technology has always been something that I've loved. I've loved the creativity of it, and I've loved the learning about how things work and seeing what I can make given what I've known. And so that ended up with me working in industry and then setting up STEMETS as a response to something that, even though I might have been smart, I'd never noticed, which was that in any situation where I was doing my maths or doing my technology, I was always in a minority. I was always either the only black kid or the only girl or the only whatever, the only Anne-Marie in that space, and whatever kind of different parts of my identity I have. And so I had a bit of a road to Damascus at one point, and saw that we had, when I started STEMETS, actually it was only 13% of those working in the UK STEM industries that were women, but also saw that over the last 30 years or so it had been in free fall, which was criminal. Technology is something that's ubiquitous, it's going everywhere. Facebook is now a household name. How is it that we don't have women working on the other side, creating this type of product, or creating these things, or being involved in the creation? So STEMETS is something that's going to be 5 next month. In 5 years, starting from very, very humble beginnings, we've had 17,500 girls across the UK, Ireland and beyond attend our programs and events, and a further 20,000 boys and girls engage with our programs via our documentary series. And in essence, our ethos is that it's always free for the girls, it's always fun, and there's always food. Because free food wins. Don't know if you noticed this, Chris. And so it's hackathons, it's panel events, it's all kinds of free, fun, food-filled experiences for the girls to come along to, and to realise that STEM, technology, whatever it is something for them and somewhere that they can belong. And there's a number of reasons why there's a need to do this. I think primarily, and it's funny, I don't want to pick on you, Dave, but I think the images that we have quite a lot are of dead white guys when we think of science and when we think of technology and its development. And so, you know, the first thing is we say you don't have to be dead white and male to participate in this space. You could also be dead female and white, as the examples I've got on this slide. So a bit of a game that I like to play. We've got kind of 4 women on these slides. We should all recognise the First Lady. Ada Lovelace, so the first ever programmer about 200 years ago, is best mates with Charles Babbage. The second lady, there is a clue in the image below them as well. I'm not that mean. Not quite Rosemary. It's also not Marie Curie, which is the other thing that people default to. The second one, no. The clue's in the image below. So underneath her, we have a bulletproof vest. And what makes bulletproof vests bulletproof? Kevlar, so that's Stephanie Kwolek, who invented Kevlar back in the 60s by accident in the lab when she was working at DuPont. The third image always stumps people. The picture below it works for you if you're over 18. Under 18s don't seem to know what the picture below is. Wikipedia has kind of taken over. So that's Britannica Encyclopedia at the bottom. The lady above is a Spanish lady called Angela Ruiz Robles, who in 1949 filed the patent for the first ever ebook. So any of you that still hate paper, she's to thank for your ebook replacement. And on the end, we have the American inventor of liquid paper, who is a lady called Betty Nesmith Graham, who was a typist and kind of Tipp-Ex. We know liquid paper as, there you go. Anyone ever use Tipp-Ex? Yeah, who knew you had Betty to thank? A little bit of trivia as well. These women don't just do STEM. Betty, some of you remember a band called the Monkees? So that's Michael's mum. What? Yeah. So she also invented Tuffet. It's great. Again, under 18s don't seem to know who the monkeys are. But yeah, so we have a rich history of women that have done things in this industry, even if we don't have the images or the statues to show it. So we start off by talking the girls through role models and things that women have solved and problems that they've solved using their STEM knowledge. But then we talk a little bit more about how actually we need a diversity of people to be able to properly solve these problems and these issues and these projects that we're working on. So I've got 2 examples on this slide. Some of you might recognize, so it's me in the photo, so you should recognize me, stood next to me. Some of you might recognize. Anyone here ever been to BET? Yeah, do you recognize the guy? No? Okay, some of you will have heard of a company called Apple. Yeah, some of you may have held an iPad or an iPhone before. Long press on the home button gives you Siri. So this is my mate John, the voice of Siri. Up until version maybe iOS 8. But that picture, for me, symbolizes voice recognition. So we now have Siri, we have Alexa, Google Home was massive over Christmas. And all of that relies on voice recognition technology, which of course we've had for decades. A lot of you here will remember ye olde Siri was rubbish. Hey Siri, give me directions to iCentrum. Did you say you want ice cream? No. And it wasn't until the teams and the data that they trained it on, they included different types of voices that the technology was then able to take off. Interestingly, I don't know if anyone here has a Scottish accent. There we go. Siri still struggles, to understand you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a great video on YouTube called 2 Scots in a Voice-Activated Elevator. Spoiler alert, they go nowhere. 11, yeah. Spoiler alert, they go nowhere. So we need to make sure we have different types of people, different types of voices, maybe if we're talking about voice recognition. But a more serious example is the one on the right, which is the seatbelts and the airbags. Now, of course, you here are all very smart, so you know that there's a slight difference in the height of the average man and height of the average woman. Yeah? And then without being rude to the average man, there's a slight difference in the weight of the average man and the weight of the average woman. And so an early round of seatbelts and airbags killed women and children because the engineers that had put them together kind of hadn't taken that data into consideration, which is important. So that means it's actually a matter of life and death sometimes that we make sure we have a diversity of people involved. And so lessons learned, I kind of brought 3 messages, and depending on how much time we have left, I might give you a bonus edition at the end of this talk. But there's kind of 3 elements that we found that we've needed to help promote inclusivity to these girls and these young women. And so I want to talk through them really quickly. The first is that this isn't just something for the women to do. So men need to be involved in this, and everyone of all genders need to be as involved in this as women like myself or like the others that we have as role models on the events that we do. It's very important, actually. These are just some of our male allies that we've had working alongside us that have been sponsors, that have been partners, that have been speakers, that have been mentors, tech mentors. But it's important to have you involved as part of that discussion, but also for you to be able to feel empowered to be a good role model and set a good example in your own workplaces. So I know we've got the kind of Me Too Me Too kind of discussion that's going on all kinds of different things, and it's quite important for men to feel empowered when we talk about this. If you are dead, white, and male, there are still things that you can do, maybe not if you're dead, but if you're alive, white and male, there are still things that you can do and roles that you can play in your own workplace for the people that you manage when you're doing your recruiting and also when you're looking at promotion in your workplaces, but also as well for the next generation and young people that you can inspire and work with and be a friendly face to. The second is that creativity needs to be the heart of all that you're doing in terms of talking about technology, talking about what you do, and actually the process of what you're doing. So we're talking a little bit about the kind of fairy of that Imperial Computer Science graduate. It's just as important to have that technical knowledge as it is to bring any other kind of elements of creativity that you have to the table. So this lady won the Nobel Prize, actually in chemistry, before last, I think. And for me, she signifies what we call STEAM. So we talk a lot about STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths. Science, technology, engineering, arts, and maths is a new thing and a new set of skills that we're actually looking to ensure that people have, where they can bring arts knowledge, design knowledge, things from all elements of themselves and bring them their whole selves to work in terms of what they then build as a tech project. And she's a great example because there's a stat that kind of, depending on who you ask, the number is slightly different, but you're 17 times more likely to win a Nobel Prize in the sciences if you've engaged with the arts or music on the way up. Which is crazy to think that these are the best scientists that are doing the most incredible things, but you're better for having had musical or arts or that kind of training alongside it. And for us, as same as what Chris mentioned actually that you've done at the boot camp, it's really important that it's not just about following tutorials or teaching just about the knowledge, but it is an opportunity for you to come and learn, which is why we run hackathons, not coding courses, for example, with the Girls and Young Women. And the final piece is altruism. So one of the projects that we ran a tech incubator for teenage girls back in 2015, which is what the documentary is all about. And we had about 115 from across Europe, all living 45 at a time under one roof for 6 weeks. It was hell for us, but it was great for them. And they had lots of tech people coming in to talk to them. We had sessions on money, on raising finance, on marketing, on traction, on product development, on all sorts of different things. And we said to the girls, kind of halfway through, we had real money down on the table, and we said there's money up for grabs, get an idea together, build something, build a product, run your own startup. Some had come in with ideas already, and a lot of them kind of formed teams together as they were living in this house. And so we had this demo day, and we had 29 startups that pitched. And these are all startups of girls aged between 11 and 21. And what was interesting for us was we said, there's money there on the table for you to make this a reality. Technology or STEM has to be an element of what you're doing. And these were the 29 things that they came up with. And there was a common theme running through all of them, which was altruism. So the girls didn't build things that were harder, faster, better, stronger, and we're going to make the most money for everyone, and we're all going to become millionaires. But they built things that solved problems that they were aware of, but had either a green or a societal, some sort of altruistic end to them, with us having not given them any leading. So for example, PurchaseMate is something that if you scan a barcode, you can look at the provenance and how far your product has traveled to be on the shelf that you're in. Forwards was a social network, for young people with long-term illnesses who were in hospitals and had because they were over 16, had to be in adult wards. So it was a way for them to stay in touch with other people with health problems. Free Feet was a device that you attach to your shoe if you've got Parkinson's that reduces gait freezing. So there were lots of different things that the girls built, but altruistic things was what they ended up doing. And for us, we found that that's what draws them to technology and to science a little bit more than you can make super cool, fast stuff that's going to make you loads of money, which sometimes I think is the big message that we send. And I guess that is a thing that is true within the tech world, but that's not the only thing that we're here for. So depending on how much time I have, yeah, okay, cool. So to end, a lot of you will be fortunate enough to be able to talk to young people and to inspire others. And so I want to give you now just a quick cheat sheet of the kind of 5 things that I tell the girls when I'm trying to sell tech to them if I have a very, very short space of time. So these are 5 reasons why you should go into tech. Are you ready? Okay. Reason 1 is that you can help people and solve problems. So I've got 2 examples on this slide. I'm going to talk more about the one on the right. The picture on the right is of 3 girls in a team of 4 who turned up at a maker fair in Nigeria a couple of years ago. So we all know what a maker fair is here, I guess. Yeah, you hack stuff together and you come along and show what you've built. This contraption that they have in front of them turns a litre of urine into 6 hours of electricity, which is crazy. People normally clap at this point, which I find really funny, because I wasn't there, though. No. Don't clap. I'm not in the team, and I wasn't there, so don't clap me, I guess. We're clapping them and sending those vibes through the universe. But it's incredible that's something that they were able to do, and a big problem they were able to solve, which you can imagine in the situation they're in, how many lives, how much better life would be. Given as well, it's quite funny, because we all wee all the time. I guess. Like if your bowels are regular, you wee a couple times a day, and it's crazy to think that each time you do that, you could be providing 6 hours of electricity. Technology is incredible. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is money. Not everyone is driven by money, which is why this is the second reason. And especially for young people, money isn't necessarily a thing. I always like to say more money means better food, because people like food. You can spend money on food. Maybe you don't like food. I don't know, Chris, about this audience today. But for the girls in particular, you stand to earn up to 30% more if you're working in a STEM field versus not in a STEM field, but also things like the pay gap are virtually non-existent in the first 2 to 3 years when you're working in technology, which is, again, is another shout out to those of you in the audience who can do something about pay gaps. So that's reason number 2. Reason number 3 is swag. And we all know this is a big thing in tech conferences. We go to a massive conference in the States every year that's called the Grace Hopper Celebration of Women in Computing. About 18,000 women there. And it's only a 3-day conference, so we turn up on day 1, first time we went. This was the swag that we got. Who wants to see day 3 of swag? Boom pow. There's all those sunglasses there, which are useless because we're from England. There's also umbrellas down the bottom, which are useful because we're from England. Google socks and all kinds of cool things. You'll spot the dove there as well, just because all kinds of companies turn up on a trying to catch these people to work in tech, which is not always immediately obvious that kind of everyone needs STEM people or technical people. We went again a couple years afterwards, so this is day 1 of swag. Who wants to see day 3? Pow. We kind of wised up to it and flew an extra member of staff over with an empty suitcase. And she kind of stocked up. But of course, we like to talk the girls through the kind of swag you can get if you're working in games, which a lot of them don't kind of join the two together, that there are jobs to be had in the gaming industry. Get the games for everyone else. If you're a developer, you get the iOS before everyone else. If you're cool, you get the phones before everyone else as well, which is cool. So that's reason number 3. What tastes better than food? Which I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this one, because you don't seem to like food as an audience. What tastes better than food? Free food. So some of you should recognize these pictures, actually. Left picture, not Google. Facebook, it's Facebook London, top right. That building is sort of closing down now-ish. Do you recognize that? That's the pantry at Bloomberg. Yeah, no one's ever been. It's amazing. If you pass through the pantry, go into any meeting you have at Bloomberg, you can grab all that free food. And then bottom right is Google. Yeah, it's Google Victoria Street. No one ever talks about the free food. And you do have to add a disclaimer because it's not everywhere, but with the age of the girls that we're talking to, I'm guessing that by the time they're working, maybe all companies will have cottoned on to free food is a good thing. People also, for the cynics amongst you, yes, free food also does mean that you spend longer in the office, but hey, it's free food. And then reason number 5 is that you can wear what you want to work. So this is me doing selfies before they were a thing, 19 floors above Liverpool Street in London. I've got a cold in the middle at the top. I'm looking for my sunglasses, bottom right. But it's quite interesting, actually, the kind of perspective that some of the girls have on kind of what the workplace is like, and kind of they feel like you have to be in a dark room drinking coffee with a dog, which I guess is like the Matrix kind of look. So they are really surprised when they come to buildings like this and they're like, what, there are windows? So yeah, so it's quite interesting, or it's very important actually to talk to them about the kind of space that you're in, but also the fact that you don't have to wear a wig like lawyers do to work sometimes, which can put people off, especially if you're talking to them and they're very young and they have to wear school uniform every day. It's a good sales pitch to say you can wear what you want. Who here remembers their school uniform and still haunted by it every day? There we go. So I'll leave it there. I hope there's been some things maybe for Chris, but more for the rest of you to pick up on in terms of your own workspaces and inspiring the next generation. And good luck and congratulations even to everyone that's graduating today.
Okay, so thanks very much, Anne-Marie. So now we'll get into the presentations, I think, and I'll hand over to the boot campers. So team 1, team Stagger. Do you want to make your way up here? Where are you? There you are. Okay. We're ready and prepared. So you guys set yourselves up, so I'll give you HDMI, yeah. Just take that. Cool.
Thank you.
Is this on?
Yeah, this is on.
So I'll let these guys introduce themselves.
Right. Hi there, everybody. Wow, there's more people than I was expecting there to be. Yeah, we're Team Stagger, and we'd like to talk to you today about our social media scheduling app. Before that, let's introduce ourselves.
So, hi everyone, my name is Sharon. So back at university, I started doing choreography and dance work for music groups in Asia. I also have a background in medical engineering, and that was one of the main reasons I came to the School of Code Bootcamp, to equip myself with the coding skills and the soft skills I need to get into the medtech and AI global markets.
My name's Ben. About 5 years ago, I dropped out of university. Since then, I've been bouncing between jobs, doing door-to-door sales, working in a restaurant, and running a really successful Kickstarter campaign. But none of those things really engaged me quite as much as learning to code at the School of Code.
So, what is our problem all about? So I gather everyone in this room uses social media. Yes? That's great. Okay. The main problem is that a lot of people have too much social media on their hands. So we all know it's important to use it on a regular basis, but we just end up neglecting it all the time because we're either busy, we have other priorities in life, we'll say, oh, we'll post tomorrow, or we'll send a message tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. And on top of that, social media tends to be quite complex. So you can't just post about your thoughts, your opinions anymore. Users, or we're becoming a lot more diverse in what we want to post on social media. So we're actually navigating through a range of hashtags, GIFs, video, other media, and we just don't have the time to think up the best ways of doing this. So that's the range of things that we will be tackling in our product. Okay, so in terms of what we really wanted to put into our app, we focused on using the IBM Watson API. So we're all going for the AI route. So with our IBM Watson, what we wanted to do is we wanted to make the user's experience a lot easier using automation. So as I said before, that people are too busy or they just don't have the time. So we wanted our app to be able to basically do everything for the user, so make hashtags, tag photos, tags in posts, etc., etc. So what the IBM Watson API does is we selected the Natural Language Understanding API. Now what that does is that the API reads through a body of text and it automatically picks out the relevant keywords or phrases that they think the user would like in their posts or hashtags. We also decided to use a Giphy API in connection with the IBM Watson API. So once Watson has picked out the keywords, phrases they think the user wants, it will also search for the best Giphy related to the keywords in the hashtags, which will be demonstrated later on in our app.
We made a few wireframes for our project. So we knew at this point we wanted to make a post-scheduling app. We had a look at a few other ones, and we kind of got an idea of what we wanted ours to look like. From the very beginning, we decided to go in with a mobile-first design point of view, because obviously people use social media on their mobiles and on desktop very frequently. So yeah, as you can see, we've created mobile and desktop versions of every view in our app. I suppose I should show you the app now. Right. So, this is Stagger. I just want to quickly say one thing. I want to talk about the branding here. We called it Stagger because we want to sort of evoke the idea of staggering posts out over a period of time. And also, we wanted to highlight the fact that we are automatically generating tags, hence the tag being highlighted there. And also, it's like stag, hence the antlers, like a stag. There we go. Yeah. I thought it was quite good. I was pretty proud of that. We're both pretty proud of that. Anyway, so this is Angry Eyes, our mascot. He wants to use a post-scheduling app to make his Twitter experience a little bit easier. It's his birthday tomorrow, and he wants to send a tweet out at midnight telling all of his followers to wish him a happy birthday. But obviously, he's going to be partying the night away, so he wants to use post-scheduling to do it automatically. So what we're going to do, pop him over here. We're going to sign in with his Twitter account. There we go. So it sends us to Twitter for authentication, and then we come back to the app. So let's schedule a post for midnight tonight. Let's say, it's my birthday today, so everybody buy me lots of cake. What we're going to do now is we're going to click auto tag to generate some tags. Here we go. Everybody, cake and birthday. Well, everybody's a bit rubbish, so we'll drop that one out. So we've got cake and birthday, and then let's generate a GIF as well. There we go. So we're going to schedule that for midnight tonight, or tomorrow morning rather. And there, thank you for posting. If we look in the queue, we can see the post is there, ready to be sent off. Just to demonstrate how it works, I'm also going to schedule a post for 1 minute from now. So let's say, it's my birthday tomorrow, and then we'll tag it. So you can also put your own tags in if you want. So we'll say, wow, birthday. And then we'll schedule that for, let's say 1 minute from now. So we'll say 3:09. Schedule that. Thank you for posting. Again, if we look in the queue, there it is, waiting to go out. So these posts are now both in a database that's tied to this user account. Every minute, the database is checked to see if any posts need to be sent. If they do, then they get sent out. If not, they stay in the queue. We can also send posts straight away without using the queuing system. So let's say, big up, Packed Pub, thanks for all the money. And then we'll tag that, books. And then we'll generate a GIF, there we go. We'll send that straight away, and if we go and have a look on Twitter, also the time has just turned over to 3:09, so here we go, there's the tweet we just sent. Thanks for all the money, and if we have a look at our tweets, oh, come on. Let's go back to the queue. So the one that we scheduled, right. Give it a minute. Tell you what, let's schedule another one. Let's see if we can get it to work. Scheduling, let's hope it works. Schedule it for today at, okay, right. The time's just gone over to 10 past now, so we're actually going to have to wait another minute for it to work. But that's fine. I've got a couple of other things I want to demonstrate. So we can also upload our own images, but it's a bit boring, not as exciting as auto-tagging. So I won't bother. The really exciting thing is that we did manage to make it completely responsive. So if I go to this view, here we go. So the web page has rearranged itself to be legible and completely usable, regardless of whether you're using desktop or mobile. And then I can log out, and there we go, there's the login page as well. So completely responsive app. There we go, all right, okay, we've got 5 seconds. And then if it doesn't work, I'll just, I don't know, be really embarrassed and cry. Right. Oh, come on. Oh no. Right, so that's why it wasn't working. It's because the thing wasn't running, but you'll have to take my word for it. Okay. Well, it wouldn't be a live demo if it didn't not work, right? So thanks very much. That was Stagger. So in terms of project management, we used GitHub. For anybody who doesn't know, GitHub is it's an industry standard version control service that developers use to basically share code with each other and make sure that they're all working on the same version. So you're not writing updates for an outdated version, or you're not doing anything that's going to ruin somebody else's code. We broke every single thing down, every single thing that we wanted to do down into issues, what GitHub calls issues. And these range from things, small things like picking a font for the front page to implementing the Watson API. And then we separated these issues into milestones, which gave us a really clear view of what we needed to do, how far we had come, and yeah, what we had done so far.
So Waffle is another project tool we used. This was used to oversee which of our issues were open, which we were currently struggling with, and which we had successfully done. We also took a look at how our issues were open and closed over a set period of time, and the number of pull requests made for each of our issues. Ben, what's a pull request?
So a pull request is it's essentially a way of preventing, how can I explain this? It's a way of stopping code from breaking somebody else's code. You make a pull request to merge what you've written with somebody else's code, and then they are prompted to review your code, make sure that there's no conflicts, and make sure it's not introducing any game-changing bugs.
So one of the main working aspects of our project was pair programming and code reviewing. Now with pair programming, this was pretty much an essential part of our group. As you can see, there's 2 of us working on this group. So pair programming was used a lot for the bigger issues and milestones. So for example, when me and Ben were working on the IBM Watson API, we definitely needed the both of us getting our heads around that. Whereas for other smaller issues, we branched off and did our own thing. So for example, styling certain aspects of our app, or setting up API calls on the server side. So we could split up a bit more easily for that. But in terms of actually checking on our progress of our work, code reviewing, I feel, was a very important aspect. So in terms of code reviewing, we would get together at the end of the day, get our heads together, and review each other's code, what we had done, to check we were on the same page, and to check we hadn't broken each other's code. Very important. So in terms of where we would like to take our app, one of the main things we would really love to do with it is for the user to be able to add other social media accounts on there. So for example, their Facebook or their YouTube or their Instagram accounts, we would really love for them to be able to cross-post and schedule across all accounts at the same time. So Ben, what else could we have added?
So we put some consideration into monetizing the product. Obviously, a post-scheduling app, if you're aiming it at a company that has several different Twitter and Facebook accounts that they need to update several times in a day, there's a potential for monetization there. But besides that, we also had a really high on our priorities list was improving the accessibility and the usability of the app. Just a couple of ideas of things that we wanted to change going forward. So yeah, thank you very much. So that was Stagger. It's a post-scheduling app with intelligent tagging. Thank you. Oh yeah, tell you what. While we're here.
Well, no, just have a look at the sent book.
There we go. Nothing in the queue. Two new tweets. It did work. There you go. It did work.
First time's always the hardest. So next we will thank Stagger, because I think that was really good for 4 weeks' work after 12 weeks of... And none of the teams have had any budget for this, so everything's done themselves within the time frame. They've planned, they've prepared the presentations. So I would not have liked to do that. But we've got one more team before the break, and then we'll see the last 3. So if Map My CV, head up here. trying to give us a hand. So we'll have like a 1 or 2 minute break so you can chat about the last presentation and then these guys will get going. Chris, here you go. So give everyone a bit and then start. Has everyone got a mic?
Okay then, we're up and running. So we are Team Map My CV, and I'd just like to take a little moment to introduce us all. So I'm Claire, and I studied modern languages and went on to work on super yachts for 10 years. I've dedicated the last 7 years of my life to raising my young family, and I just recently started looking at my return to the workplace and working flexibly around my children. And I've got to say, the landscape was a little bleak. And then I came across the advert for School of Code Bootcamp, and I thought that was a great way to upskill into a new industry, and then look to find challenging and exciting work in tech.
I'm Chris. Before the bootcamp, I was unemployed due to a period of ill health. Having recovered from the health problem, discovered the School of Code opportunity. Gave me a chance to retrain in tech and train in JavaScript, which is now what I want to do for a living.
And hi everyone, I'm Sina. I have a software engineering degree and a couple of years industry experience. I came to the UK from Iran in 2016. I was engaged in a refugee program with the organization Crisis when I was given the opportunity to attend the School of Code. Actually, it has enabled me to take my existing technology skills and update them. The experience has also given me a great understanding of British culture and working system, and I can't wait to seize this opportunity to help me embark on my new life here in Birmingham.
And hi everyone. Well, as we say in Dutch, hallo iedereen. I'm Hamza, and I worked as a warehouse. I worked in the warehouse sector for a few years, and left it as I noticed there was no further progression available for me or further learning. Covered most of the work and workflow at DHL Tyford. Left it as the work was repetitive, unrewarding, and I did deem myself to have further potential to increase myself in learning and knowledge betterment. And fortunately came across School of Code, which sparked my interest in coding, which turned into a passion, thereafter addiction. Thank you. And when we, were looking at our first project, we discussed the problem of youth unemployment, as this was an issue that the mayor is trying to address with the urban challenge. Birmingham itself has, the youngest population in Europe, with under 25s accounting for less than 40%. Bear with me, I'm following up on Anne-Marie and the rest. Sorry. One report talked about a young person's lack of relevant skills as being a barrier to employment, which got us thinking about the traditional CV and the use of recruitment. The traditional CV doesn't give justice to the young candidate, as they can't express their experience and skills, which they do have. And so we wanted to provide a tool that allows them to give a visual presentation of their skills, values, and ethics, and an online platform in line with the digital world in which they have grown up. Young people are digital natives, and the obvious platform of choice would be LinkedIn, which is predominantly used for employment and recruitment. But they are not engaging the young demographic. research into social media usage showed us that Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube are the main platform of choice, main culprits. And they all have many things in common, one of which is the capability of a user showcasing themselves through video. Hence, we try to incorporate this into our app as we try to make our application akin to what the youth are already accustomed to. We have produced a platform which we call Map My CV. As the candidate, you can upload videos or express yourself and personality and experiences using external links. As for the employer, you can, due to the search system we have been able to create, to dynamically search for candidates of your desire. I would like to pass on to Chris. Thank you for your time.
I guess that means it's demo time. So, this is our welcome screen. We make it deliberately simple. We make it as clear as register and log in. We've got a user, we'll call him Kevin. Kevin is one of our candidates. A few days ago, he signed up for our service thinking, do you know what, the paper CV ain't working for me. So Kevin logs in. The first thing you'll notice so as you can see, Kevin looks rather a lot like Ben. Kevin, this profile has been designed to allow users to create a 10-second introduction to themselves and upload that as a YouTube video link. You'll also see next to that a description that they've written themselves. So Kevin has told us that he's highly motivated, hard-working. But where's the rest of the CV? Well, we're on skills, so let's have a look at communications. What happens if we click communication? We get to find out more about communication. So you can see part of Kevin's skills in communication. He says he's accomplished, he says he's done presentations, and he says that he's done visual presentations. So why don't we have a look at the evidence for the presentation? So as you can see, it takes us off to a YouTube video of the school he was at. So let's go over to other. See, this is a box for those things that don't fit anywhere else. As you can see, he's put rugby in here. Let's have a look at the rugby section. So we can see that he was under 18 Player of the Year for the Midlands Combined Rugby team. And again, the evidence links off to a news article for this. The thing is that Kevin thinks that he needs to make a change. So if we'll edit the node, and if we just change team to team player, and then click save, there we go. So, as you can see, we can edit them. But Kevin now decides that actually there's another node he wants to delete. So if he goes over to Experience and then clicks Apprentice, he thinks, do you know what, I don't want to tell people about my apprenticeship with Halfords anymore. So he clicks on that and then clicks Delete. Are you sure you want to delete this? Yes, we're sure. So, Kevin's now edited his CV. So, Kevin's finished for the day and he logs out. A little bit later on in the day, a local recruiter decides to log in. So you're greeted with a simple search form as an employer. So our employer thinks, I want to search for somebody with an interest in rugby. And as you can see, it returns. The video is playable. That one. And as you can see, it gives the description. Our employer thinks, do you know what? That's not a bad introduction. I want to see more. So he clicks on the link, on the card rather, and it opens up in a new page. Again, the video auto plays. But as you can see, the employer can browse through and see all of the nodes that we'd shown before. So if you click on communication or anywhere that you want to, you'll see that they all expand out, giving access to all of the evidence that was provided by the user. So if we go back to our employer page, we think, let's search for skills. So this time, we've got two results. We've got Kevin, and we've got this other guy that seems to have done not very much with his CV. So that is, in essence, what our app does. It makes CVs searchable, it makes CVs interactive, it makes CVs evidence-based.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the technologies that we've used for our application. Actually, we follow the MVC pattern for our application. Well, MVC stands for Model View Controller. So for our model part, which is our database, actually we choose MongoDB. It's a non-SQL database, also is fast, is efficient, and also is reliable. So that's why we choose the MongoDBs for our database and models. Also, for control part, we decided to use Node.js for our server, and also a bunch of other frameworks such as Express.js for in top of the Node.js for our routing and this stuff, and also Passport.js for authentication, such as authentication with Google, with Facebook, also with just username and password. And as you see, what we've done. And the last part is our view, which is UI of our application, that we choose to use React. React is made by Facebook, and also it helps to developers to make dynamic pages and also single pages, actually. And the last thing that I need to mention that is we use a Redux for managing our state in the UI. And also, so as I said, Redux is a framework for state management. And Redux as well helped to developers to create application which is behave consistently.
Unlike the mom in the school play. So, we can really split our project up into two sections of how we worked with it. The first part we had here in iCentrum, and that's when we went talking about our project ideas. We were doing our market research, looking at existing platforms, sending out questionnaires to employers to see what they thought of our ideas. And also, it was here that we started wireframing our ideas, thinking of, giving something bright and colourful to our target audience. So we decided on our technologies, we created our issues, and we began pair programming. The second part of our project, we used an agile approach to our project, and we used a lot of the same methodologies as other people had been using. And we found that this came into its own as we encountered many challenges over the Christmas period. Amongst family commitments and work commitments, house flooding, house moves, and a little bit of Christmas squeezed in the middle there. Realised quite quickly, you know, we needed to readjust some expectations and look at our planning stage again. So we worked remotely, we made great use of Slack, communicating messages and documents. We did a lot of stuff with Google Hangouts, where we had our team meetings and programming. And our biggest takeaway, I think, from this stage of the project was just how key communication was to everything. And not just communicating, you know, what we could do, but really importantly, saying what we couldn't do. And that way, we were always, you know, adjusting our goals, adjusting our expectations, and always working towards a realistic project goal. So, in producing Map My CV, we were thinking about what we'd like for the future of Map My CV. And what we really want to do is connect the candidate to this process of recruitment. You know, unemployment can be such a lonely place when you're just sending out CV after CV and getting no feedback, no communication. So we'd really like, you know, to have a sort of clicks and views aspect to these CVs. And, you know, the millennials and Generation Z, they're like immediate gratification. They want to like, they want to share, they want to repost, you know, so we want to give them something back. And this also gives them an opportunity to see what content is working, what's not working, and, you know, they can dynamically update and change their CV. We also want it to be a great platform for communication, you know, making appointments or messaging someone for the first time. We just want that to be easy and efficient. You know, recruitment's hard. So we just wanted that to be a really easy part of our platform. So what we hope is that in creating such a platform, we can, where candidates have previously felt disconnected from the recruitment process, we can actually make them more connected and give an interactive approach to finding employment, a modern tool for modern day recruitment, and hopefully a more human side to recruitment through technology. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Okay, thanks very much. Just to let us all recover from that, we'll take a quick break and come back for the last three teams. But I hope you all appreciate how scary it is to stand here, as lovely as you all look. It is intimidating to stand here and talk, and that's not what coders are known for. So let's just give them a round of applause again. And yeah, we'll come back for the more interactive presentations after the break. So off you go.
But yeah, just try and
I mean, I tried to adjust where I hold it. If it's a bit too loud, I can like hold it down a little bit.
Okay, guys, so we'll just give you a 2-minute warning to start back up again so we finish on time. So head back to your seats, scoff down your cakes, and we'll get back on the roll.
Which one?
So we use 1, 2, and 3.
Does it matter?
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Are we staying here? Or will we sit down and call us up, shall we?
Can do.
Chris? I want to try and get this thing down as quick as possible without burning my tongue. No, you're leaving.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, can we have you back in your seats? And we will begin the second half of our show. In case you get hypoglycemic.
Okay, yeah. I might do, you know.
I'll just go and gather people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I might. So don't you can say something, Christine. Yeah.
turning itself off midway through the demonstration.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's all good, it's all good. Everything should be fine. Well, I'll just check. Yeah, so you just click it, jump down. That was already ready to go. Yes. What's into the breach, dear friends?
Pretty good. Last time into breach. Oh, shit. No. Don't be a dick.
What's this?
It said on snap internet connection.
It did for a second on my screen.
Are you kidding me?
Right, how are you plugging in?
Just here. You, HDMI. Can we just do it now?
Yeah. Do you need a clicker?
What one?
Yes.
I've started enough.
If it doesn't work, just walk over here a bit.
Yeah. My laptop sucks.
Okay, everybody ready? Okay, thanks for sticking around and enjoying the delicious, whatever they are, bakery products. Handing over to the next team, I'll let them introduce themselves. So let's give them a round of applause.
Yeah, thanks guys. As Chris said, I hope you enjoyed the break and the free food, because free food makes everyone happy, right? So, as you're about to find out, coding can be a risky business. I'm Ash. I've just come from a PhD. After 7 years of chemistry, I've gone into tech, which seems like a bit of a segue. But I didn't want to be mixing chemicals for the rest of my life, but I did like problem solving. So I looked for other careers that had that. And tech was one of those. And then started the boot camp, and now I get to test ideas, build stuff, and solve problems in a new and exciting field.
Hi, I'm Nazia. I was a probation court officer for 8 years. After 8 years, I no longer had job satisfaction, but I thought, what did I like about my job? I liked the fact that I was solving problems, I was logical thinking, I was working with people, I was managing, I was organizing. So then I went to look about something that combined all this together, and that's when I came across School of Code that promised to deliver, and I have delivered.
And hi, I'm Nick. I was in management retail for about 5 years. Wasn't motivated, wasn't pushed at all, and I wanted to find something that really would. And starting the boot camp has definitely motivated me and pushed me from day one being uncomfortable, not knowing what I'm really doing. And Chris saying, well, if you're comfortable, you're not learning. So now I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable. So, why are you here today? Well, you want to see what we've built, of course. But before we get there, I want to ask a couple of questions. Who here likes playing quizzes? Excellent, quite a few of you. And who here likes playing with friends? Excellent. Just like you, over 1 million users use an up-and-coming app called Trivia HQ. Now, if you don't know that, give me a second to tell you what it is. This is basically an app that sends out 10 questions each day, and people log on, try and answer them, and then they get put into a prize fund. So we knew there was a need for this kind of app. So without further ado, let's look at the app.
Okay, so you know that this is a quiz game, but we wanted this to be very timely. So at the same time, everyone's heard of SpaceX, Elon Musk want to go into Mars, so we decided to incorporate that into our game. So it's a game about space. We wanted an 80s feel to it, because it's a game after all. So we've gone for a very brutalist style in our game. Right, the idea of the game is that meteorites are coming to hit Earth, so we no longer have a planet to live on. We're losing our home. So we're going to go out to the solar system, explore new planets, and make new planet our home.
Cool. So we've teased you enough. Let's just play the game. So as you can see, Nick is setting up the game behind me. We've got a mobile responsive website and a laptop team. Everybody on this side of the audience, we are going to need you to do some work. You're the laptop team. You're working with me. Front row, you're the brain trust. If they don't know it, shout out the answers, get involved. It should be a hoot.
And this side of the team, shout out 1, 2, 3, 4 for the right answer, and I will tell Nick.
So as you can see, we've joined the same lobby. One of the key features of our app is there's no login page. Being able to share a game really easily was important to us. So all you have to do is share the 4-digit code that is generated when you create a new game. So we wanted not everybody to, sorry again. Everybody is in the same room. That's great, right? But we wanted to include people even if they couldn't be in the same room as you. So we've implemented a chat feature as well. So you can send messages to your friend like, haha, I'm gonna win, you suck. And your friends can reply with, yeah, you wish. And as you may have noticed, we got a notification telling us we had a new message so we could respond to our friends. Cool. So once everybody has readied up, I see someone else has joined the game with us.
Can you ready up, please, whoever you are?
Are you ready?
Thank you.
Well, this should be fun. Cool. So we've got us, those guys, and whoever is the third player. Let's do this. So guys,
One, two, three, four. Come on, guys. The clock's ticking.
Rube.
All right, so we've got one, Nick, please. Next question.
I should say, the timer runs out, it will pick a random answer, so keep going. The Mohawk building. Oh, not time, not
What's the answer, guys? Come on. Two. We want two,
Come on,
Nick.
guys.
1, 2.
Ooh.
The last one on our side. We're not doing very well here.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on. We don't want the two.
It's the top one, Nick, apparently.
Goldfish, we want 3.
We're not doing well here.
All right. Come on. We want to win this, guys. Come on. I need some answers.
Repulsive. We're going with repulsive.
What?
Repulsive. The second one.
You're wrong.
Nick picked the right one for you.
Wow, that was hectic.
It was indeed. Right. Let's see the scores. Let's see how we're doing. And let's see how that mystery third player is going on. Oh.
The mystery player is winning.
We'll have to find out who this is afterwards. Cool. Well, that was good.
You know what? That's a bit hectic. How about we just do one team at a time, and the mystery player, you can carry on.
Cool. All right. We'll go first. Cool. Let's pick somebody. Hamza. Pick a category. Any category. We're going to go with sport.
Unfortunately, Hamza, you can't take that. The mystery guy's got it. That's why
Mystery
it's red.
guy's got sport.
Sorry, one person per planet.
Science fiction. Science fiction is not there. Science and nature. All right. Ready? Oh, waiting for the internet. All right, let's go, guys. Come on, shout the answers out at me. Carbon. What have we got? Come on, guys. Come on, guys. I can't play. I know the answers. Come on, guys. We're going with love.
No, I heard love.
Oh, we need some guys at the back. Give me an answer. True or false? True. Good job. All right. Someone else shut this up so I can't pronounce these. The bottom one. Unlucky. Unlucky.
All right, so now they're
So now we're just waiting for that team.
Cool. So we can pick any player we like, but as you can see, they did science and nature. The points have gone from 5 to 3, so that means there's 3 points available on that planet. We can either play that planet or we can choose a new one. So guys, what planet would you like to play? Animals? Come on then, let's do animals. Toad? Yes. What? A, B, C. All right, we want a second one. True or false? I'm hearing true. True or false? Go on. Okay.
So, let's have a look at the scores.
Well done, Marbles. We're in the lead. Come on, round of applause for us. So, about this time, you would have had your final scoreboard, but unfortunately, because of the mystery player not playing around, you didn't get to see our final scoreboard. Normally, in our game, it's a 5-round game, but for the demo, we only decided to do 2 rounds. And the idea is that after the second round, you'll be able to choose someone else's planet and take part. So then, because we're social beings, we want to be sharing planets together. That was the idea. Okay. Now that you've seen our game, let's talk about how we went about creating this game of ours. Initially, we did a brainstorming for the idea. Once we refined the idea and we're happy with what we had, we then moved on to how to creating this. So we decided what our minimum time requirement would be, what the stake in the ground was going to be, and how we'd go about doing it. We also decided what roles we were each going to play and how we're going to deal with disagreement. Because the 3 of us in the team, if 2 of us disagreed, then the 3rd person would have the deciding vote. We then went on to doing our research. Okay, from our primary research, we sent out questionnaires and we found that 3 out of 4 people actually liked playing online quizzes, and a lot of the people liked the idea of having a theme running out throughout the game. And then from our secondary research, we found that Kahoot, which we all heard of, by March 2017, they had 40 million active users, and Jackbox TV from 2014 released 4 games, and those 4 games have scored 9 out of 10 on Steam. So we knew that there's a massive market for quiz games online, so there's plenty of space for our game. Right. Since it's a game, user experience is at the center of this whole thing. It's all about the users. So now that we had the plan, we did the research, we now went about creating this.
From this, we had wireframes. We did some whiteboard sketches to begin with, got the instant feedback from our cohort, see if that worked. From there, went to Balsamic, and then tried to make it how we would actually structure the app more so from the feedback we got. I mean, that wasn't where we started. Even halfway through, I tested it personally with my mum, because she doesn't play games at all. So I really wanted to see if she could just instinctively know what to do. She couldn't, which is absolutely fine, because then we could actually adapt it to then make it more user-friendly in the long run. We used a Kanban to make sure that we could track the issues. We then had story points to set aside how much time for each one. Now, sometimes we were over, sometimes we were under. And it doesn't really matter. If we were over, that might have been because we were having to learn something, we might have been struggling, and it was a good way for us to pull together as a team saying, that one's taking a bit more time. Do you need help? Do you need us to show you something? And it really did help us build together as a team, to be honest.
Cool. So now you've heard our plan. I'm going to quickly talk you through the tech. Like the other teams, we've also used React and Redux. The way that we extended this is we use Redux Saga, which is a piece of middleware that allows us to use asynchronous functions inside the predictable and immutable state that Redux gives us. We've also built this app with a microservice architecture in mind, so our front end and back end can be swapped out for another application if we wanted to, and also be hosted wherever we want to. And as you can see by the mystery player, we're hosting this at the moment on AWS. And the 2 halves of our application are linked by Socket.io.
Yep, and the reason why we use Socket.io is because we didn't want constant calls going back and forth, slowing down the app, making it not user-friendly at all. With Socket.io, it gives a persistent data stream, so it's quick, real-time update data going backwards and forwards. So that's why we use that. We also wanted to use it because then we could have rooms. So you wouldn't just emit to everyone, so you could have 2 separate instances of the same game running at the same time, and they'll be completely separate.
Okay. Since we were using the Agile approach, retrospective is very important, but the reason why we went for the Agile approach was initially, we did 3 regular meetups, and we documented our plans, problems, and progress. We did our user stories, our personas, our wireframes, as we've already mentioned, and then we carried on detailing. Right, with the retrospective, we found that initially, because we were constantly refining the idea, we were constantly getting user feedback and doing user testing, we found that our sprints were lasting longer than we expected, so we could no longer do a retrospective at the end of each sprint. So we decided to do it at the end of each week to get our summary. And we did pair programming, 3-year programming when possible, and over the Christmas period, we decided to do remote working using Google Hangouts and Slack.
Cool. So we wanted to build a visually stimulating game and also something that was fun to play. But we wanted to make sure it was robust, because at the end of the day, we're handing out to users, and we didn't want it to break and spoil the fun. So the first thing we did was we implemented the Jest testing library. This allowed us to write really simple unit tests on our main functions. And for those who know, this is in Redux, this is the reducer. And so we wanted to make sure that we could handle all of our own inputs without the app crashing, but also if something got handed in that the reducer wasn't expecting, it could deal with that, and the game would continue to play without breaking. We also wanted to make sure that all of our components were modular and didn't interact with each other unless we wanted them to. To help to do this, we used React Storybook. This allowed us to develop our components in isolation, meaning that any styling that went on was specific to just that component, but also that any props that we added in wouldn't bleed through into any other components. Another useful feature is that we can host a static website and show what all our components would look like outside our app. So if anybody else wanted to use them, we could do. So for example, I could show you the final scoreboard. Ooh. Ta-da!
For the future, we wanted to be able to have other people take actually over your planet. So if you went to a category and you got 3 points, but your competitions thought, well, I can do better in that category than you, they can go there and say they got 4 points or 5 points, they'll take actually all your points away from you. So that would have just been a bit more competitiveness to the actual app themselves.
And another feature we wanted to integrate was social media. This would allow you, if you were playing remotely, you could tweet your room code to your friends and then they could join you. Or if you wanted to live tweet your scores to show how well you're doing, you could do that without having to leave the app, which would engage the players more. Another thing that we were in the middle of implementing but didn't actually include in this version of the game because we weren't able to fully road test it was if you are playing remotely, you might be on a phone or a train, you might lose connection. And if you disconnect, you would lose your progress and that would spoil the fun, right? So we wanted to be able to have a reconnect as soon as you came back to the internet and you would speed back up to exactly where you left and then you could carry on playing. Like I said, we got most of the way there, but we didn't get a chance to fully test it, and we didn't want to break anything. We've been Risky Quizness. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, let's thank them again. And who was the mystery player? Oh, thanks. Thanks for coming. Yeah, so I think they did really well to cope with like unexpected. It didn't break, so that's a good news, right? So you can do it with multiple players. Okay, cool. So the next team we've got, I'll let them introduce themselves. Take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming to our demo day. We're very excited to show you our project. But before we get into that, let's just do some quick introductions. Hi, I'm Matthew. I'm a criminology and psychology graduate and a qualified teacher. And I know what you're thinking, that's a perfect combination. Unfortunately, teaching wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. So I decided to do something different and pursue my passion in tech. I found out about the School of Code and they came just at the right time. And after 16 weeks of fun collaborative learning, I'm now ready to start my career journey in tech. But that's enough about me. It's time for you to meet Scott.
Hi, I'm Scott. Before the boot camp, I just finished school and didn't want to go to university for 3 years. After looking at apprenticeship programs for getting into tech, none of the options seemed right for me. I have developed an interest at sixth form in creating drag-and-drop websites, but I knew I needed to learn code. The School of Code Bootcamp has not only enabled me to do this, but has taught me invaluable schemes such as teamwork. I'm very grateful for what the bootcamp has done for me, and I'm now looking to start a career in tech. I will now hand you over to my teammate Lily.
Hello everyone, I'm Lily Wales. A week before the bootcamp, I was completing my Fine Art MA, and I applied for the course for 2 main reasons. The first was to integrate robotics and lighting into my sculpture, Radioactive Rhonda. The second was to become a more sustainable artist. And throughout the process, I've really enjoyed using code as an art form. So last but not least, I'll hand you over to Victoria.
Hi, I'm Victoria. Prior to the boot camp, I ran my own award-winning bakery and coffee shop. I loved it. I had a passion for real bread and specialty coffee, but I didn't want to get up at 3 a.m. for the rest of my life. So I looked at the options that were open to me, and the School of Code bootcamp was the perfect opportunity at exactly the right time. I've learned so much over the last 16 weeks, and I'm so excited about my future in tech.
So our project was to create a new website for the School of Code. Our first step was to meet with our client, the CEO of the School of Code, Dr. Chris Meyer. In the meeting, he outlined to us the challenge that faced us. With the work that they do with the boot camp, obviously, the school's work that they do and the consultancy side of things, we had to essentially create what is 3 separate websites together into one. To show you how we did this, I'll hand you to Victoria.
Because there are 3 distinct sections of the School of Code website, we needed to make sure that the design and the content was suitable for all of the users. To do this, we created 3 user personas. We gave them all a name so they were more authentic, and we could put ourselves in the mind frame of each user. For the schools, we had John, a 35-year-old high school teacher who had no knowledge of code. For the boot camp, we had Dave, who was 22, worked in retail, and wanted a change in career. And finally, for the consultancy, we used the example of apprentice winner Sarah Lynn, who desperately needed a makeover for her website. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the grand reveal, the School of Code website. When designing the website, it was important to all of us to make it fun, but we didn't want to make it gimmicky. The research that we did showed that the competitors' websites were all fairly dull with a corporate look to them. So we decided that a childish design with a space theme well executed would be perfect. We went for geometric shapes to give a 3D impression, and initially we created all of these images in CSS, but we changed to SVGs to make them more scalable, easily resizable, and more open to animations. On all of the main pages, we implemented parallax scrolling, where the content at the foreground moves faster than the background. And now Matthew is going to talk to you about the schools page.
So our user John needed to teach his class how to code. Fortunately, he'd heard about the School of Code and decided to check out their website. Upon coming to the website, he saw that there were 3 planets, one for schools, one for boot camp, and one for consultancy. John knew exactly where he wanted to go and headed straight for the schools planet. Upon entering the schools page, he came across a brief statement about what the School of Code is about and also how they could help him. He was excited to see that they offer one-to-one and whole school training support, so he decided to contact them using the form below. Once he had done this, he proceeded further down the page and saw that there was an exciting looking game. It also conveniently had the Key Stage 3 target, so he could add it to his planning. He was looking forward to trying this out tomorrow with his class. Looking further down the page, he saw that there were additional resources that he spent the evening playing and trying out so he could improve his code himself. Excited for the response he was going to get from the School of Code.
Our second user, Dave, is looking at changing career. He saw an advert for the School of Code bootcamp and has decided to look at the website. He's first taken to the home page where he immediately sees the bootcamp planet. He clicks on the planet and is presented with an introduction with more information to what he could learn on the bootcamp. He then scrolls down and sees the previous cohort members and can identify with their non-tech backgrounds. He is impressed with the wide diversity of the bootcamp and is interested in what he too could do in 16 weeks. He is now very interested in the bootcamp, and the timer below tells him how long before the next one begins. His next step is to see the application process to see what he needs to do to apply.
So I don't know if anyone else watches The Apprentice, which is a guilty pleasure of mine. But if you do, you'll know that Sarah Lynn was a recent winner. She had a sweet company that essentially operated like Moonpig. And in the episode where they do the interviews, she was slated heavily for her poor website. It was lacking in design, and the functionality just wasn't there. So Sarah really needs a consultant. She visits our website, and immediately she sees a philosophy she can really relate to. Every company is a technology company, regardless of what business they think they're in. So Sarah's really aware she's dealing with much more than sugar. She scrolls down the page, and she sees what services are on offer. She also can see what training is available to her staff. She likes what she sees. She scrolls down further. She sees an in-depth process of what will happen with the School of Code. She decides they're the consultancy for her.
Because the School of Code has outgrown its current website, we needed to make sure our version would grow as the School of Code grew. With this in mind, we chose to use React for our front end. Facebook designed React for one reason, to handle huge amounts of data that changed continually and to do that fast. We needed our website to be fast, and one of the things that makes React fast is its virtual DOM. When you change something in React, it only renders what it needs to render, speeding up the process. Another benefit we found of React is that it's component-based, and the components we make in React can be used in other websites or in your own website in a different way.
For all the content and technical coding we've done, at some point we need to let go. Unless we want late-night phone calls from our client requesting to make changes, we need to make the website easily customizable for them. Therefore, we have chosen to use WordPress's REST API as our backend. WordPress, as many of you may know, is a content management system which makes building websites from scratch fairly straightforward. However, we wanted to use the power that React has for the reasons outlined by Victoria, while still tapping into the customizability of WordPress. In our WordPress dashboard, we have created 3 custom post types, one for the consultancy page, one for the bootcamp, and one for the schools page. Each of these has all of the content that's on our website. Currently, we are in our consultancy component with the quote that Lily referred to earlier. We have the School of Code philosophy, which I'm going to steal and turn it into my philosophy. I'll click Update to update our website, scoot on over to our website and the consultancy section, and it is now my philosophy. So with the whole of our website, all of our content is customizable for the client, and that is what our intention was, to make it easily changeable for them as the business changes as well. I want to hand you to Scott for some CSS animations.
As previously mentioned, the landing page is the most valued page of our website. We decided it's important to make the page interactive in order to engage the users. In order to do this, we use CSS animations. When working with CSS animation, we knew that it would be easy to make the page look too busy. Having all animations running at the same time, once the page loaded, would be confusing for the user and would take away from the overall effect. Therefore, we opted for the decision that when you hover over each planet with the mouse, they will then animate. This therefore helps to make it interactive for the users because they can then explore each planet at their own will.
So with over half of web traffic coming from mobile devices, it's crucial to make a mobile responsive website. And as already said, the first draft of the website was created purely in CSS, including the complex geometric planets. And while that was a great learning curve, it was complicated. So we decided to make the move to SVGs. So once we did that, we were able to utilize Bootstrap within React, placing each planet in a column, allowing them to stack on top of each other when viewed on mobile.
Planning formed an essential part of our project. We had regular meetings with Chris to ensure that our progress met the visions of the client. Within these meetings, the client was able to highlight any additions to the website and check in with our overall progress. Our team ethos was solely based upon teamwork with the use of an agile work environment. We elected a Scrum Master who ran regular meetings in which he would align the day's plans and highlight any problems we had encountered. We also held daily retrospectives to ensure that we knew what had been done and knew where we could move on for the next day. We would also look at what could have been done better and what we could change to enable us to be more productive. We elected a project manager whose role was to address the decision-making process. The process for making a decision was a majority vote. As you may be thinking, yes, there are 4 of us. This meant that if it came to a tie, it was the project manager's overall decision.
So as you know, we really didn't have long, and no one on our team actually had any coding experience. So we set a lot of time aside for learning, which really helped us out when we switched to SVGs, because that move required us to learn Adobe Illustrator from scratch. As a team, we decided that our MVP would be the landing page. But as you can see from this presentation, we've delivered way more than we planned. So we're happy with our progress. So on behalf of the team, I'd like to say thank you for listening to the presentation, and we look forward to meeting you all.
Okay, let's thank that team again. That was great. And again, they had to do everything from scratch, so no budget for graphics, or everything's done themselves. And to be honest, I didn't even know how they made the CSS stuff look the way it did, so pretty good going. Right, so the final team is MWM, so I'll pass over to you. Let's just give you a round of applause.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. Before we begin our presentation, we'd just like to introduce our team, Movies with Mates, and tell you why we came to School of Code Bootcamp. So first of all, I'm Pete. I was a product designer in London, designing kitchens and interiors. I came to the School of Code Bootcamp to pursue a different interest of mine, that's learning to code. Hopefully I can use my design knowledge and newfound coding skills to help solve real-world problems.
Hey everyone, my name's Lee. So before the bootcamp, I was studying for a maths degree at the University of Birmingham. On graduating, I realised that not many people care that I can recite 200-year-old theorems, so I tried to find something to do that paired all the good parts of my degree, so the logic and the problem solving, with something that I think is more worthwhile, like coding.
Hi everybody, I'm Morgan. Before the School of Code Bootcamp, I was representing Great Britain playing water polo at the World Student Games. At the start of the bootcamp, I was finishing my Masters in Translation just up the road at Birmingham University. That's actually where I came across the School of Code in a consultancy challenge at the university, and I saw it as a really good stepping stone into the professional world and hopefully the tech industry.
And I'm Jennifer. I'm a geologist, and for 4 years I've been working in research and development before I decided to come to the UK to pursue a master's in applied GIS. While studying GIS, I was made to understand that in order to make my maps interactive and more dynamic, I needed to learn a bit of code. And that was one of the main reasons that made me to apply for School of Code.
And the four of us together are Movies with Mates. So we've begun our project by understanding the problem at hand, social exclusion. Now, social exclusion is becoming an increasingly evident issue in today's society, but not enough is being done to solve the problem.
So why is social exclusion a problem? The American Psychology Association said that loneliness and social isolation may represent a greater public health hazard than obesity. Its impact has been growing and will continue to grow. So we looked into some of the health effects that loneliness can have, and some of the things we found were shocking. Like, did you know that one study found that loneliness and lack of social connection could be as detrimental to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day? Another study found that loneliness increases the likelihood of mortality by 26%. Even today, conveniently in the news, we elected a minister of loneliness. So, we think something needs to be done about this. And we're in the perfect place. Birmingham is this huge, diverse city. Why not bring more of its people together over a shared interest?
So how can we solve this problem? Well, similar to every task, we do it one step at a time. We dove deeper into the underlying issue, found out many people don't like going to the cinema alone, and often struggle to find people to go with. So we decided to create a mobile-first responsive web app to combat social exclusion in Birmingham.
Movies with Mates. Create spontaneous, personalized movie events and connect with real people at cinemas in Birmingham.
Real people.
Real films.
Real fun.
So let's get into it. It's that time again. It's demo time. For the sake of our demo, we're going to have to ask you to indulge us a little bit, have a little bit of fun, and get those imaginations working. So to begin, I'd like to start by introducing a very close friend of mine. Meet Pete. Product designer and coder by day, film nut by night. Pete lives in a smart one-man flat in the centre of Birmingham and works for his own product design company. Pete's into horror movies. And I mean, really into horror movies.
Ooh.
Pete's been chatting to a mate who is equally obsessed with the world of gore and gruesomeness, and the hype for the new Insidious movie that has just come out is hard to contain. Because of his job, however, Pete often starts work early and finishes late. Not really ideal for catching a scary flick at your local cinema with your pals. So he's talking to his mate, and his mate asks, "Yo, Pete, have you heard about Movies with Mates?" Pete hasn't, and so his mate fills him in. Movies with Mates is a mobile phone web app where strangers can connect and organise to meet up and go and see a movie together. Pete ends the conversation and is left thinking just how well-informed his friend really is. Curious and excited about his next horror fix, Pete loads up the app. He logs in via his secure Facebook-authorised username and password. Arriving at his profile page, Pete decides to search the app to see if any other fiendish fanatics are watching the new Insidious movie in Birmingham City Centre tomorrow evening. He checks out the instructions and after a moment searches for Insidious in the search bar. What is this? A movie event ticket? By Lee? Cool. Lee has posted a movie event this afternoon at the Odeon on New Street. And it's the new Insidious film. Ah, shucks, thinks Pete. He has to work this afternoon to tidy up his latest project. So he scrolls back up to the top of the movie ticket page and decides to take the initiative and create his own movie event ticket. He's free tomorrow evening, and he loves the popcorn at the Odeon. He selects the 10 to 7 p.m. showing of Insidious, and feeling a little bit more than excited, he creates the event. Bloop, bloop. What's that? Pete looks in his pocket. It looks like he's received an email confirmation from MWM for his movie event ticket. Oh yeah, thinks Pete. Meet Jen. Jen is an MWM regular and has got over 10 movie meetups under her belt. She has just finished a big project on her university course and is looking to blow off some steam. Jen's hobby of choice, no you haven't guessed it, is to go to the movies and jump, squeal and shriek her way through as many of the latest horror films as her time and wallet will allow. Jen sees Pete's movie event and clicks attending. She pings him a message.
Ping.
As the clock ticks down, Pete checks his activity feed to see if he's got any notifications. Pete clicks on the notification from Jen, and after being taken to his movie ticket chat, he replies. Jen agrees, and the stage is set. Pete logs out, and feeling suitably pumped for his mini-movie adventure, goes about finishing his final project.
Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed that, everyone. We definitely did. So I'm just going to highlight a few features for you now you've seen how to use the app. So if Pete doesn't mind logging back in and navigating to the page where users can create a cinema event. So these listings that you're seeing in front of us are real showings for the Odeon on New Street and the Cineworld in 5 ways. So we are tapping into an API here and dynamically showing you the information. It was a decision we made as a team to only show these 2 local Birmingham cinemas just for the purposes of this demonstration. But going forwards, thinking about the future, we could utilize JavaScript's geolocation API, check where the user is, and fire off a request for cinemas in a certain radius, and then we're looking at an app that's scalable outside of Birmingham. Another thing we'd like to show you is the going page. So when we were looking at competitor apps, they all had similar features to this, and we just think this is a nice user experience to have a quick and easy way to see the events you've committed to going to. And the last 2 things we'd like to show you are our You're Not Logged In page and our error page. So if Pete doesn't mind logging out of the app really quickly and trying to navigate back to the movies route, we'll get taken to a page that says, "You're not logged in, and let's get out of here." And we're redirected back to the home page. And we also think it's a good user experience if for any reason we're having technical difficulties or the server crashes, the user deserves a reason for that, so why they can't use the app rather than being met with a blank screen. So we've designed a page that if the server crashes for any reason, we'll get this page and we're redirected back to the home page. Yeah, cool. So now you've seen what we've built.
Now we'll show you how we got there. So we started off the project with a market research. Following that, we went on to the project planning. And then we spent the majority of our time in the development phase coding up our concept. Of course, here we are today at the demo day.
So what exactly did we do for our market research?
Well, I'm glad you asked. For our primary research, we conducted a simple online survey. Of the 80 people that responded, over 3/4 said that they like to go to cinema with friends, and no one said they like to go alone. Also, over 70% said they like meeting new people.
As part of our secondary research, we thought it wise to go and search for possible competition in the market today. And we narrowed it down to this 3. Meetup. With the Meetup app, it is it organizes lots of events around a person's local and regional area. But with Movies with Mates, we decided to narrow it down to a single local dish on the social media platform. Narify comes in second, majorly because of its stage in development. With Movies with Mates, we decided to make all meetings to be strictly platonic, which Tinder does. Moving on to the planning phase. So since we had a lot of ideas in our heads, we thought it wise to have a sit down and brainstorm through them. With this, we decided to go with the Disney ideation process. With the Disney ideation process, we started with the Dreamer stage. With this stage, we were allowed to fantasize, no boundaries set, just think of all the amazing things we wanted our app to have. Next, we went down to the realist stage. The realist stage, we tried to narrow it down to more achievable functionalities since we had like fairly a short amount of time to create this app. On the critic stage, we constructively criticized the different functionalities that we thought best should be on the app. At this stage, we also developed our MVPs, our minimum viable products. And we also decided to have a stretch goal. This included having third-party APIs, email verification, and also including a geolocator on the app.
So after we'd finished with the Disney ideation phase, we moved on to our three-phase wireframing process. The first stage of our wireframing process involved whiteboard sketches and pretty basic illustrations to get all the ideas that are going around in our head down onto paper so we can start to see what the app will look like as it takes form. Something that we were really, really careful on here, and we made a really key point, was about the user experience. Because the better the experience is for the user, the more likely they are to use it, and the more likely they are to tell their friends about it, and that works as advertising for us as well. When it came to the second stage, our wireframing process, we used a program called Balsamic to help us digitize those images and those illustrations. And as you can see, this was super helpful for us in terms of visualizing what the app was actually going to look like and what our code was going to be aiming for.
And the final stage of wireframing was implementing our brand colors and style so we had a better picture of our final vision. After playing around with a few different colors, we decided to go with the color red as our brand color. And the main reason being that when we asked the 80 people that responded to our survey, what's the first color that comes to mind when we mention the words cinemas and movies? Over 80% said the color red.
Okay, so I'm just going to briefly run you through the tech. We are running an Express server on a Node.js backend, and we have a Mongo database set up, which we are hosting on MLab. We chose MLab partly because it was cloud-based and partly for scalability reasons. So this database is set up in such a way that it'll easily account for the millions of users that we expect to have. And then on the front end, we are using React. So React is known for its ability to deal with data efficiently and in particular data that's dynamic. And going forward and thinking about scalability again, we have the potential for lots of different streams of data coming into this app needing to be dealt with, making React the perfect choice. We also handle Facebook authentication on the front end, and we've written out prop types for each component to allow for well-documented code.
And we decided to use Google's material design because it's a visual language that synthesizes the classic principles of good design with the innovation and possibility of technology and science.
So just over 4 months ago, the 4 people that you see standing in front of you today had coding experience ranging from extremely minor to totally non-existent. In terms of turning our concept into reality, we had to really balance out our ambitions into what we wanted to be able to create and what was realistic to create in the 20 working days that we had to work on this project. Creating production quality code in 20 days for people with 4 months experience is always going to be a challenge. But what we do feel like we've created is a really solid foundation so that for any software developers who may be interested in taking this on in the future, they've got a really solid base to work from. With the 4 of us, you get 4 different aesthetics and 4 different styles, and you get 4 different ideas about how things should look. Obviously, this meant that discussions were increasingly lively. But what we've ended up with is a UX and a style that we're really happy with. As for the brand, Jennifer mentioned it a little bit earlier, we really wanted to avoid any Tinder-esque connotations with our apps, Movies with Mates, not for dates. And we really think we've achieved that in the app that we've created.
So since this was a huge project for us, we needed to manage it somehow. So we first took an agile approach to it, where we had daily stand-ups, discussing our issues, problems encountered, and generally how the app would go. We then used Git version. We hosted our project on GitHub. For our MVPs, we made sure to make each MVP a milestone, and then we further went on to break it into smaller manageable chunks and created issues out of it. In order to track our project progress, we decided to use Waffle. Waffle is an online project management tool which is integrated with GitHub, and you'd be able to track your progress in real time, as you can see on this Kanban board display here. With Waffle, it also gives you an option whereby you can see how far you're moving along in the form of a burn-down graph. This was especially useful to us because then we would be able to see the level of progress we're taking with our project. And so far, I say it made our project to move smoothly.
We are Movies with Mates. Thank you for listening.
Okay, so let's just thank that team again. And to all the teams as well, because I can't stress enough how unreasonable it is to make people do live demos of a project they've had for 4 weeks after learning for 4 months. Like, that's not a reasonable thing to do. So there was very minor, if any, glitches today. So the gods have shone on us. But it shows that their skills are real world and they can go and contribute to teams. And there's no experienced people leading this team. It's a group of people that want to learn, and they've managed to produce something which I think some of those apps are really incredible for the time that you've had. So brings me on to say, just like to thank all the organisations that made this possible, all the support we've had from a range of different people, including Innovation Campus, including Unlimited, our key sponsor Pact, Technical Team Solutions. We've had loads of mentors, loads of people coming in and guest speaking, guest lecturing. There's way too many to even put on a slide. We've concentrated on soft skills with Go Do Life, which is an initiative to help people get the best out of themselves. And that's really cemented the teamwork ethic in the group. So, Innovation Campus has been central to what we're trying to do, and we share the same ethos of let's make things great and make things happen. And so I'd like to invite David Hardman up to say a few words, if he's around. Is he around? Well then, no, he's missed his chance. So he won't be saying a few words. But yeah, so Innovation Campus has been the perfect place for us to base ourselves, because as you can see here from the space, we made it collaborative. We've made sure to put a bit of greenery in there. You can see the grass at the back. You need a space to not only work together in teams, you need whiteboards everywhere to get ideas down onto paper, but you need a space to chill out and to, get your mind away from the coding. So we tried to create that as much as possible. So we'll skip over that. And is here? All right. As I was saying, so we'll hand over to David Hardman for a minute or two just about the space and why they decided to support. So if we can give a round of applause.
So thank you. One of the things that is key to all this is opportunity. And I'm hoping that all the employers here are going to give these guys the opportunity to move their careers forward. But that opportunity is two-way, because there's no doubt about it, digital skills are crucial to the future of every business going forward. About 2/3 of businesses in the UK, the CEOs recognise that businesses are going to change almost beyond recognition in the next 5 years. And that'll be the digital drivers, the digital change that's going to be required to keep them in business. Today, coding is absolutely crucial to make sure that this happens, and we have now skilled people here ready to go and get things moving. The opportunity to partner is key to what we're about here. It's about bringing together people with ideas, people with experience, people with funding, and then people with skills, because those are the people who will actually get the job done. A place like this brings it together in a physical location, but we want to reach out beyond just this building and just this set of buildings across the city and engage with at all levels. And that includes with the sort of the corporate partners that indeed are already here, but with new ones as well. The skills agenda is on everyone's lips. Every company is saying the problem they have in terms of growth is lack of skills. Seen skills here today, take them up is my absolute message. But similarly, we need to keep this going. We need to find ways that the next School of Code is running very quickly. We have other activities in the skills agenda with different sets of people that we're trying to drive forward as well. And we're also helping to set up something like 80 startups a year in these buildings. They all need staff, and we're all hopeful that this will create job opportunities. But the most important thing is people talk to each other, and that's what's going on in this place now. This evening we've got Tech Wednesday. We hope a number of you will stay on to that and engage with another group of 50 or so people that we hope will join us this evening. But congratulations to everyone who's been on the course, produced all this. I think the objective now is to get people talking, network, look for the opportunities to innovate through partnership. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks very much. I'd just like to show you a quick end of boot camp video that we've put together, which should be a very nice end to the evening. So let's see if this works.
What I did before this, I used to study and social business. Basically, my background was retail.
I'm master's in applied GIS.
Just came out of sixth form.
Yes, I'm an artist.
I do kitchens and interior design.
Yeah, I had a bakery and coffee shop. It's on private yacht for 10 years.
It's being a primary school teacher. I studied music at university.
And you've just been working in minimum wage, customer service. So you've been turned down to work in a job.
I studied software engineering.
I work as an education officer.
My master's at Birmingham in translation.
I was doing a PhD in chemistry.
Master's student at University of Birmingham, working for probation as a court officer.
Hi, I'm Chris from the School of Code. I started it because there's a ton of money, jobs and opportunity in technology, but that doesn't always reach everyone. So we've started a 16-week boot camp that takes people from beginner all the way through to coding pro and into software development jobs. And this is our attempt to get more and different types of people benefiting from technology.
Sounds kind of cliche really, but it's really changed my life.
It's been a journey. It's been fun and still going. Lots of doors been open, lots of new ideas been put to us.
In the space of after 11 weeks, the main information I've learned today is the language integration, RCFS, JavaScript, and frameworks that go with it. We have covered more than I ever thought possible since
HTML and CSS in the first couple of weeks, which before we started, I had no clue about. Chris, our CEO, takes our concerns all the time, every single day, but it's turned out to be really, really good for us, because that's how I feel I've made it. I've learned that you shouldn't try to do everything by yourself.
I was a shy person when I came here, but right now I feel confident. I can communicate very good with people, and the team working was top something that I learned.
I never got tech was for me, because the idea of tech, the stereotype is an individual work manager, something that I need to do, I need to do, I need to then create support, and create social, so that's why I always say the research side.
To be comfortable being uncomfortable is my
any kind of team, like we kind of have pair programming, and then we go into different teams, and that's absolutely easy. And laying out your job that you need to do, and dividing that between people, then coming back together as a team, saying, oh, what do you know? Let's help you. Let's do this. So I guess teamwork is a massive, massive increase.
The broad knowledge or curriculum that is actually being taught at the bootcamp, varying going from HTML all the way to advanced JavaScript to Node, setting of servers, then to again some JavaScript frameworks such as React, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's been hectic, but nice.
I learned how to be more confident due to the presentations we've had. I used to be like a terrible public speaker, but just presenting in a small group of people has really boosted my speaking skills. Just going to do something that, you know, just be normal, just come in the morning, go back in the evening and stuff. But it was more than that. I actually learned more than I thought I would.
I thought when we come into this, it would just be learning code day in, day out, and then having people around to help you learn it. Brought a lot of teamwork into it, so that you've learned something, and some people did it, some people didn't. And it's meant that it's not just been straight from the boot camp, it's people in your shoes that are helping you go along. It's really useful.
Really nice getting into sort of the because I literally didn't know in HTML and how I started. And now HTML is fundamental to the work that I'm doing.
Usually I didn't really know where I'd be now, but you know, I'm a lot further along. I definitely really underestimated how hard it is. Learning like a new skill from scratch that way is super hard.
Doing the hackathon that we went to in London, talked to some taking a good time. Like, yeah, they've learned other languages like PHP and Java, but our level of knowledge in JavaScript is much higher than that, and they did it in 2 years. So the intensity of what we learn is insane.
We were told that we would be full stack JavaScript developers by the end of 16 weeks, and to be honest, I didn't believe that. I mean, here we are. I don't think I would have learned as much as I have now so far. I would have thought, you know, we've brushed upon HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and possibly a backend language, but we never exceeded that.
To become an efficient JavaScript full stack developer, and I reckon the bootcamp has led me and set me up for achieving that goal.
Really exciting kind of know that I'm going to a career that's full of innovation.
We've all got a really good foundation for starting a career in tech. If I were to sum up my bootcamp experience in one word, it would definitely be life-changing.
Amazing.
Moving.
Really hard.
Extreme.
Difficult to level
Challenging.
Amazing.
It was awesome.
Hello, I'm Andy Street, Mayor of the West Midlands, and I'm delighted to do a quick comment into your end of class video. So, just outstanding that you got to this point and you've learned so much. I was there, I think, at Case 1 when we met at iCentrum, and under Chris's able guide, he tells me I can have much hands on the web side ever again. I'm sure he's taking you to be incredibly capable going through. All I can say is good luck, whatever you choose to do within the academy. Congratulations on where you've got to.
completely forgot the mayor was in that. What a surprise. There you go. Okay, so we're coming to the end of it now. You've seen all the teams. And I guess it's just to say, you know, if software is eating the world, if the future is tech, then we need to make sure that nobody's left behind, and we need to make sure we try different ways of teaching people. Because in the end, we don't want the old coder stereotype of working on your own, you know, or the bedroom coder. It needs to be people from different walks of life coming together and being able to collaborate, create together, and work effectively as a team and add value to business. So the only thing I can say is the West Midlands tech sector is sort of like a family, okay? And in all families, there needs to be a couple of things. We need to sacrifice to help each other. So, you know, making sure we plan for the long term and help bring people along the way. We need to support each other, support junior developers, senior developers. Mentoring is really important. And in the end, all of that ecosystem is to try and grow, try and get as many people in the West Midlands tech sector as possible and try and compete on a global scale. And doing that will, you know, bids like Channel 4, stuff that the mayor's trying to do, it'll be much easier to bring those in if we have a strong talent pool, sustainable, delivering talent to business. So with that, I'd just like to wrap up. I'd like to thank the other member of the School of Code team, Nicola, who has been here for the last, oh, it feels like 10 years, but like 6 months. Yeah, so I'm sure when she did her English Lit degree, she didn't think she'd be helping run a boot camp, but I think she's had fun, yeah? Yeah, she's a good liar as well, but like she's had a good time. And I couldn't have done it without her help, really. I'm the least organised person, as you could see by forgetting the mayor was in the video. Not much attention to detail there. So Nicola's been key to pushing that forward. So let's just give Nicola a round of applause. And finally, it's really all about the boot campers. So there's 2 people that you didn't see present today, who are Doug and Julien. So before we went into the project phase, we've removed as many barriers as possible with, you know, no fees, but it is a sacrifice that people have to not earn, basically, throughout 9 to 5 for 4 months. And so at certain points, that gets unreasonable for people. So we're continuing the development with them. So look out for them in the near future. They will be around in the networking. But they just need a little bit more help before they're ready to sort of launch off into the tech universe. And yeah, just to say the future of the courses, funding, support, hiring. We also provide a consultancy so that if people, you know, are looking to keep on learning and get a job in the near future, we take on consultancy projects, help them manage them, and deliver them to businesses, you know, with quality assured. So there's a couple of activities that go on beyond this boot camp, but really it's a chance to now network together, go and speak to the boot campers, find out more about their skills, their experiences, their backgrounds, their talents. And thanks for listening. That's it. Thanks very much. What do we do now? Stations. Okay, so boot campers go to your stations. Everyone else, I think there's drinks. There will be, so Tech Wednesday is actually launching soon, so there'll be more people coming to network with, more snacks and drinks and food. But yeah, go and talk to each other. I'm sure you're all lovely people, and I'll speak.